Hello, everyone. Welcome to one more Success and Connection podcast. I'm here with
Tracy Gun.
and we're going to be talking about guess what? Real estate.
All right, I'm ready.
So, Tracy, first I would like to know, what's your definition for success and connection?
That's an interesting question. Success is really learning and trying something new for me and going deep on something that you really love. Like, for example, I stayed home and homeschooled my children, right? And my thought was, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to not know everything. I'm going to miss things. But if they are good human beings and they know how to learn and live in the world and be good people, I felt like that would be a success, right? Even though it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
And I was figuring it out as I go, right? Like we do everything. So that was the success part. And what's the other question?
Connection.
Connection. Oh, for me, that's really about, I'm from New York, so we kind of come at things really direct. There's not a lot that's hidden. So if it's on my face, you probably know exactly what I think. So I think connection for me is about really just being very real and honest and connecting real person to real person. For me, that's connection.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
So tell me, what are you working on right now?
Let's see. So I'm working on my candy store expansion. I own candy stores. I've had for 18 years. I've owned restaurants and all those kind of things. I'm expanding. I just finished a fundraise for that. We're doing that in Charlotte, North Carolina. At the same time, I am doing some co-living projects. My husband is a 45-year carpenter contractor. So we're doing that. We're doing some Airbnb stuff, some midterm rental. And we're just kind of figuring out and playing and figuring out what sandbox we want to play in.
Wow, that's awesome. So what about your Mount Everest?
Ooh, my Mount Everest. Okay. So it has a little backstory. So years ago, when I had both of my restaurants and both of my candy stores, my daughter had a baby. So it was my first grandchild. And all I wanted to do just in that moment, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be running all these restaurants. I don't want to be at my bar until midnight. I don't want to do this stuff. I want to go hang out with that baby and have freedom. And just like that, everything I had been building, I didn't want to do anymore. And so I hired a broker to help me sell. And he told me that none of my business were sellable at that point. And it broke my heart. Because I thought I was doing a good job. I had 42 staff. I had systems. And so he didn't tell me why, but he just said, just liquidate. And that broke my heart. So kind of it started this process of questioning, like, why as an owner did I not know that my business wasn't sellable? Why didn't I know what my business was worth? Wouldn't that be something, right? We know what our houses are worth.
Yeah.
Why as owners do we not know? And it's really pretty universal. Most people have no idea what it's worth, how to value it. And if you don't know those things, how do you know what to fix, right?
Yeah.
And so it kind of started me on my Everest, right? So back then, I gave myself a deadline. I said, I'm going to try to fix it and sell it. And I had a buyer in 3 months. I learned a lot really quickly. And it really just impassioned me to want to talk to business owners, because business owners are so brave. They go out, they create brand new things in the world. They serve the community like they're the foundation of our country. I think they're so important. And yet most of them will never sell because they didn't plan for it. And so my Everest is to help them develop and implement exit plans.
That's amazing.
I love it. And so that's just because I knew, right?
Yeah.
And I understand how dumb I felt not knowing what I learned, what was effective for me, what I wish I had known then. And so just talking about it, helping people. And with AI now, it's so much easier to get yourself out of your business. Yeah. And when you get yourself out of it, it's now automatically more valuable and sellable. And so, that's my passion.
I love that. So amazing. And there's so much people that they need and they don't know where to go.
Correct. Well, they have no idea they have a problem, just like I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I have a business. I have revenue. I have customers. I have systems. I have staff. What's the big deal?
Okay.
It was a big deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
So how do you plan to do that? Is one location? How are we going to reach these people?
Well, what I'm doing, with my candy store, I'm expanding with this idea of what if you started over knowing everything you know and could exit strong in less than 2 years? What if you could prove that's possible? And if that's possible from scratch, then I certainly should be able to convince business owners who've been in it 30, 40 years that it's not going to be that hard to fix a few things to be able to sell.
Exactly.
Instead of those businesses just disappearing from the world forever.
That's right. And recently I learned about the integrator and visionary.
Yes.
In your case, what do you think you are?
I've done the little test, and I'm about 98% visionary, but we'll say 92% integrator.
No pretty ways. That's right.
But you know why? It's because I've owned businesses for 18 years. I worked in my dad's business. I worked with my ex-husband's business. And the reality is if you want to have freedom in any kind of life and not have to do everything, you have to build systems so you have freedom. And so if you want freedom badly enough, you figure out how to have a system. Even if it's not your strength, even if it's not your natural, you do it because you have to.
Yeah.
So you can do the visionary piece that you love. And so this is not my happy place per se, but after learning this many years, trial and error, I understand how to. And I also know how to hire somebody to do it for me.
Absolutely. Because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. But the thing is, you could do it so much more quickly than somebody else could because you have to give them your brain.
That's true.
Especially if you want it to be the way you want it. And that's like the creativity of business, right? Is that it's your way with your ideas behind it, with your systems. Like my system and your system could be very different.
I think it must be very hard to be both because your left brain talk to your right brain and how you get in the image.
I was thinking about this. I was listening to this class about identity the other day. And it was talking about like, who are you? Who does God say you are? Those kind of things. And you take off like that. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a mom. I'm a business owner. Like take all those things. And I was thinking about it and it came to me that like, I'm a problem solver and I'm a problem solver as a visionary and I'm a problem solver as an integrator. And I was like, oh my gosh, that fits. For me, right? Like I played games as a kid and you're always solving problems. You're putting puzzles together. You're figuring out what's the most efficient way to fix this. And that is just the way my brain works. And so it works for both sides, which is interesting.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I think it's rare, right? It's very rare.
I think it's rare. And I do think it's something that you can learn. I don't know that you can learn to be a visionary, but I definitely think you can learn to be more organized or utilize tools that work with you and your person. Like even with ChatGPT right now, you could build a project and talk to it and it can help you be organized or it will create a solution for you based on what you want. Yeah. And then as long as you take the steps to implement it. But I've recognized, at least for myself, I can do both, but I can't do both long term. And what I mean by that is like, if you were thinking like the life of a business is 0 to 10, I love the 0 to 1, maybe 2. But after that, I am not interested, which is why I have to have staff.
That's when the visionary kick in, right?
The visionary and integrator can work together, but that integrator's got to go when it stops being interesting. And it's routine. It's got to go.
I know. So much. Okay, so what got you started in real estate?
So real estate was an interesting choice. My husband was a builder. And I had businesses. And in 2020, I had 4 businesses still, and he had his business, and then everything got shut down. And this idea, like all of a sudden, I mean, most entrepreneurs rely on their incoming receivables to exist, right? Especially in restaurants. You order this week's food and you pay for it next week. But what happens when you stop the receivables? Which is what happened, and nobody could have predicted that.
That's true.
And so this idea that I had a little pool, but like now I owe this money. Obviously, I didn't have to order more food because we shut down. But then what? And that was before we knew anyone was coming to help us, right? There were some programs, but they weren't great. And they certainly weren't good for restaurants. So my husband and I talked a lot about, because all of a sudden I went from working 19-hour days to being home. And it was weird. And the whole world was weird. And the candy store, we quickly shifted to e-com, and that worked. And that gave me a project. For him, he was someone who was going out house to house to house. And there was a time where people didn't want people in their houses. They didn't want their groceries in their house for a couple days, right? We would wipe things down. So we talked about, well, all of our cash flow stopped. What if we could at least make sure we have a place to live. So we decided to build a tree house, which was one of his dreams. We built a tree house in the yard to rent on Airbnb.
Really?
And so that was our first project. We got permits and started that. And that took about a year to finish because then I added on our basement. We had a midterm rental in the basement. So we built out like a 1-bedroom suite in the basement. And then we also bought our first flip because I was like, well, we have some cash, right? Like, what do we do? And we gave him a job. And so all of a sudden he was doing all 3 projects at once. So all of them came online in 2021. And our first flip was 2020. And then we finished it. Gosh, I think we sold that one after the end of 20. So again, all of a sudden I was like, ooh, let's build this. Okay, let's build this too. And then on top of that, this is the visionary, right? And then on top of that, like, let's go buy a house and then flip that too. So my husband, who is not necessarily a good multitasker, he kind of like was here, a little bit at a time. So we did the first flip and we bought it for $60,000. It was a full rehab. He's a builder, so he knows everybody. We put 30 into it and sold it for 182.
Fabulous.
We made great money. And I was like, let's do that some more.
Yeah.
Right? Way easier than a restaurant.
That's right.
So that's kind of how we started. And now it's just like, we take the income and put it into this other project so we can get good cash flow, and just gives him a project to do instead of job to job to job.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So what's the future for you in real estate? What's your goal?
So let's see. I love being in the community here. I like being in an owner's club. I think it's opportunity. And I think for me, it's going to be more about businesses and buying businesses. But my passive or my extra income, instead of giving it to the government, will go into real estate. So it's that same cycle, right? And then we sell and we take our income and we put it back into another business and then that's the way of my multiplying. And my hope is also that as I'm working with business owners who want to sell and are preparing to sell because I'll know them and I work with them, I also am in a community of people who are looking to buy businesses. So now I'm connecting the two. Not only am I helping the seller to get a better deal, it's not that different than, you're going to put your house on the market and you're like, okay, we're going to tidy it up. Now, if it's a tear down, you don't tidy up. Yeah. Right. If it's someone like we're thinking about selling our house up on our lake, that one's going to be somebody's second home. They're going to come in and put their gourmet kitchen in. They're going to put in all new bathrooms because they're going to make it their own. This is their second home and they'll do that. We're not going to do all those things because they're just going to rip it out and do it the way they want. Right. But if it was somebody who was a first-time home buyer, we'd have to prepare it in a way that everything is done and ready so they can move in and be done. And so it's the same for business, right? If you're going to sell, depends who you're selling to. How do you have to structure it? What should you work on to make that business sellable and more attractive to the buyer you're trying to attract?
And this time, you're going to be the one saying, I'm sorry, your business is not sellable.
Correct.
But the question is, can you do anything about it?
Yes.
Or
always.
Yeah?
Always.
Okay.
And that's what I figured out for myself.
Okay.
Right? So there are little things, and it just depends on the buyer. So like I said with the house example, there are little things to do, or sometimes there's nothing to do. Mm-hmm. We just sold a house, or we didn't sell. Our friends bought a house that was for sale on our lake. It was $1.2 million, and it was a tear down. That person didn't need to do anything to sell that house because it was on the lake. And they knew what the goal was, right? And so it just really depends. If you're going to, so I had this one gentleman, he had an oil delivery company up in Boston. So who was going to buy his business? Well, he had it for 40 years. He wasn't probably going to sell to someone who's a brand new business owner. He's going to sell it to another oil delivery company because they're going to buy his book of business because those customers have value, right? Mm-hmm. So he didn't have to do anything. He's already done the thing he needed to do to be able to sell. Do they care about his processes, his office, his equipment? No, because they have their own, right? So it's identifying who will buy it will really lead you and guide you as to what you should be doing to improve your options. But others, there are things to tidy or to make more valuable depending on your buyer. And so There's always something you can do. I think it's always fixable. Even if you're a solopreneur, you could change from being a solopreneur to have a professionally run business. It just takes a little time and effort. And then all of a sudden you have something sellable, right? Yeah. It's just a matter of what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely right. So it's going to be amazing. You out there to help these people, right?
Yes,
figure
absolutely.
out what they
and even
have.
the community, like think about people who want to buy businesses.
Yeah.
Number one, how do you evaluate it? Like, where is it? And then also, should I buy it? Where's the value at? Because a lot of people who are buying businesses are not necessarily business owners yet.
Yeah.
So they may not see the opportunity, where the gaps are, where the pricing is. And so that's kind of the flip side of that, is helping people who are buying to really evaluate and get a good deal, a fair deal, but also to see where the holes are.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I love that. And let me ask you this. If the community needs something, what's your superpower? What can you help them with?
I mean, for me, I think it's really distilling and seeing what's real and what the options and opportunities are. For me, and only because I've done it, right? It's like when I say to somebody, most businesses don't sell. Ask me how I know. Right? It's because I'm my own cautionary tale, and being in the trenches for 18 years was not that big of a deal. Everybody owned businesses way back when, but now it's pretty rare to have a business 18 years. Even if it's a simple little business like a candy store, there are things you learn over time, and you have different vision. You just see things differently because you're more experienced. And so that's kind of the superpower, is I already have that integrator visionary skill, the ability to dream, but also ground it in what is possible. And so that's, I think, the superpower that I bring to whether they're selling or buying.
Do they know that you have this superpower?
Yep. Okay. I'm teaching a semester next semester about business improvement and business selling.
Perfect.
And exiting. Yep.
Awesome. I love that.
Yes.
So what about your needs?
I mean, right now, I just did my first fundraise, which was, again, this is the part about ownership that's amazing, is you get to learn new things, right? As I'm exploring AI, I am like leading in the community. I'm, speaking on stages. I'm speaking on podcasts. I'm helping people evaluate businesses. So I'm keeping my tools not only sharp, but used.
Yeah.
Right? And so the needs that I have right now, are just, if you know anybody who wants to sell, or if you want to buy one and you have the docs and you want to talk it through, let's talk it through. And usually I record it and we use it for content, but just to kind of show people what's possible. You look at a P&L and it's like, this is payroll and it seems high. Well, would you know if it's high or not? Would you know if they're paying too much, or if there's padding in there, or their expenses, or when the profits are low? Do you know why?
Yeah.
Right? Only because, ask me how I know, right? I've been that part. I know what some of the standards are. I know what your percentages should be about. And so, not in every industry, but relatively, business is business. I mean, some of the standards are relatively simple. Like your cost of goods are X. Your general expenses are X. Your payroll's usually about 30%. So you can find some things that seem off, right? And so I love doing that. I love talking about businesses and opportunities. So if people need help with that, I'd love to help them. And that gives me also more practice, more content, and more visibility of doing that.
Absolutely. Tell the cameras what you need.
So if you know someone who wants to sell a business, or your family wants to sell a business, or you're considering buying a business, I'm your girl. Let's talk about it. Let's evaluate it. And I actually have some tools I can share with you that will tell you, here's the thing. Most people don't know what their business is worth, and they think it's worth millions, and it's probably only worth a little. And so I have a calculator that will help you see how that works. And I'd love to help show you so you can be the most informed person at the table.
Fabulous.
Yay!
Tracy, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
so much.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.